Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming with a look at game 307-308, the best game of the week in my estimation. Friday Night Lights in Cincinnati between the UCF Knights and the Cincinnati Bearcats. UCF a 4-point favorite here in this AAC matchup. Over at BangTheBook.com, lots of great stuff being done right now by our very talented cast of writers. The NHL season is back, which means that Parker Michaels is back with his daily NHL picks. Great job last season. Great job 2 years ago. Some tweaks in the works for this year. He's going to have a lot of good insight and analysis for you on the ice over the course of the 2019-2020 season. We're still covering college football and the NFL with a lot of great free pick content, power ratings, predictions, all kinds of good stuff over there at the website. We also have NBA coming up here as well. The NBA season gets underway very, very soon. We got some good thoughts coming from Admir Algic and the rest of our NBA writers over there. College basketball, only about a month away. We'll have you fully covered for all of that stuff. MLB playoffs, NASCAR, WNBA, UFC, soccer, tennis, all the sports action that you want to know about, all available over at BangTheBook.com. All right, so we take a look here. Once again, game 307-308, UCF 4-point favorite on the road at Cincinnati. Huge game. Goes without saying here, but this is an enormous game for the group of five playoff hopes not playoff hopes, but the group of five New Year's Six bowl game. You've also got obviously big implications here within the division for this conference. And really, this game's going to set the ceiling for both of these teams for the rest of the season. UCF already with that loss at Pitt on a fourth down play in the final minute. Cincinnati blown out by Ohio State, but from the looks of it, a lot of teams are going to get blown out by Ohio State this year. So this is a big game here. One of these two teams going to pick up a second loss, not going to be in consideration for that New Year's Six bowl berth. So a lot of stuff on the line here in this one. When you look at what's going on with the line so far for this game, if it was 3.5 at the open at the sports book that you look at, it's now up to 4. There are no more 3.5s out there. Total hovering between 60 and 60.5. Not really a whole lot of movement, one way or the other on this one. Now, when you look at last year's game, UCF beat Cincinnati 38-13. Cincinnati -2 in turnover margin. The yards were close, 402 to 379 in UCF's favor, but Cincinnati ran 81 plays to UCF 61 plays. So UCF with an enormous advantage in terms of yards per play. Cincinnati, the game could not have started better for them. They did wind up getting to about midfield before losing the football on their first drive. First play for UCF, Cincinnati gets a strip six, scores a touchdown. UCF shanks a punt. Cincinnati gets a short field, gets into the red zone, but then they miss a chip shot field goal, and the route was on for UCF from that point forward. Cincinnati scored a garbage time touchdown, down 35-6 in that game. So even the 38-13 score, maybe not as close as how the game played out. UCF off a quasi-bye. They played UConn last week. Cincinnati, though, they had a tough game on the road in Huntington, West Virginia against Marshall, won 52-14. Very impressive performance from Luke Fickell's team. Yeah, sometimes wins in college football don't really get the credit that they deserve because a lot of people will say, well, they're supposed to win that game. Well, maybe they are. But to go and win in lopsided fashion with arguably your biggest game of the season on deck was a very impressive win for Cincinnati. Led 45-0 after the third quarter. Outgained Marshall by almost 300 yards in that football game. So a very good look for Cincinnati. Now, when we look at this game in particular here, UCF is tied for 7th in yards per play offensively. We know they're a very dynamic offense. They've also played the 98th toughest schedule in the country, according to Sagarin. Now, they are 2nd in total yards per game. They play at one of the fastest tempos in the country, but also here for UCF, 8.8 yards per play against FCS and Group of 5 opponents, 6.45 yards per play against Stanford and Pitt. So they have padded their numbers a little bit when they've faced just completely inferior teams. However, 6.5 yards per play against Stanford and Pitt, still pretty good. Cincinnati, just 82nd in the country in yards per play offensively. They did have 4.8 yards per play against Ohio State. They have 5.92 yards per play against everybody else. Both of these teams playing very well defensively. on the season. UCF has only allowed 4.23 yards per play, including 4.93 yards per play to Stanford and Pitt, the two Power 5 teams that they've played. Cincinnati allowed almost 7 yards per play to Ohio State. But in their other three games against UCLA, Miami of Ohio, and Marshall, 3.8 yards per play. So I kind of want to lean towards the under a little bit in this game because both of these defenses have played quite well overall. But the UCF tempo is very concerning when you talk about trying to take an under in one of their games. It's going to require Cincinnati to probably have a lot of success on third down, to manage the clock, to play at the tempo that they want. And look, Cincinnati could do it. They're 20 for 44 on third down in their three games that weren't against Ohio State. And UCF here so far, only 26 for 67 on third down, 12 of 30 in their games against Pitt and Stanford. So UCF is the flashier team, but they've played the weaker schedule. Cincinnati's played a stronger schedule, but also when you play Ohio State, who's a consensus top 3, top 5 team in the country, that's going to skew your strength of schedule metrics a little bit. So Cincinnati's strength of schedule not as strong as it would appear because they do have that one outlier game against Ohio State. Tough handicap, best game of the week. Here's my takeaway. My line is UCF -2. So from a power rating standpoint, a little bit of value on Cincinnati. I do lean Cincinnati in this game. Now, if this game gets to 4.5, Cincinnati is going to be a tough team for me to leave off the card this week because you're getting the key numbers of 3 and 4. Again, last year's game did not fall in Cincinnati's favor. We'll see if this year's game at home does go a little bit differently. The Bearcats have been a decent team on third down. If they're able to keep the football away from UCF long enough, they'll definitely hang in this game and have the chance to win it outright. If they turn the football over or go 2 for 12, 3 for 12 on third down, it's going to make it very, very difficult for them. So lean with Cincinnati, but if you do like Cincinnati here, you don't have to rush to get this number. Wait and see if it goes to 4.5. If it comes back down, sharp money is on the Cincinnati side. If it goes up and blows through 4.5 on up into 5, 5.5, then you have a pretty good idea that UCF probably the preferred side in this one. But a great game at Nippert Stadium on Friday night. And again, for me, the lean is Cincinnati, and you hope to get plus 4.5. I'm Adam Burke for BangTheBook.com.